Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Churchill Downs here on Friday. It is the 3rd of May 2024. Going to look at the stakes races here on Kentucky Oaks Day from Churchill and all the stakes races, including the Kentucky Oaks. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world. And join me tomorrow for my Kentucky Derby preview here from Churchill. Also tomorrow for my 2000 Guineas preview from Newmarket. So we have classics on both sides of the pond, some very good three-year-old racing and stakes action from both cards. So I hope you join for those previews. But today's card from Churchill is incredible. We have some great stakes races. We'll be looking at races 5 through 11. So we have a smorgasbord of races to look at. And tomorrow we have a buffet of races to look at. So, let's get to the Friday action now. Starting off with the 5th race from Churchill, which is the Troienne Stakes. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse of $1 million, race for fillies, mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 7 horses in the Troienne going the distance of ground is 1,700 meters or mile 16th on the Churchill main track. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the 6 horse Zygira as a top selection. 6-4-5-7 for me in the superfecta. 6-4-5-7 super. Top selection of 6 horse Zygira. This 4-year-old filly by Nyquist. Phil Bauer trains. Julian Leperoux gets the mount. This horse had a very good end of the season campaign here since coming to the dirt. Most recently, the Grade 3 Fall City at Churchill, mile 8th on the 23rd November. She won by 6 1/4 lengths that day. She had a very wide trip, but she sat back early. She slowly moved her way into the race, and when she got the job done at 15 cents to the dollar, she flew home clear late. That was a very good, strong run. Back here facing older horses for the second time, back to Churchill, where she's run very well in the past. I think she's sitting on a very good run. Like I said, since come to the dirt, she's really improved a lot. 2 back in the Grade 2 Mother Goose and Aqueduct, mile 20th of October. She won by 3 1/2 lengths that day, and again a little bit wide that day, but she stalked all the way around the race course and she quickened up nicely and she flew home clear late. That was a very good strong run. And then her first star in dirt in a little bit of time in the Seneca Oven on this Churchill turf main track over the mile 16th in September, winning by 6 1/2 lengths. Again, she won underhand ride that day. Very good, easy race. Her turf races weren't bad at all. She actually won the 10-pin at Ellis on the turf course. She won a nice lounge race here last year on this turf course, and then she ran horribly in the Saratoga Oaks, but I'll give her the break. It was a complete downpour before the race. That was actually the last race in the program. They had to cancel after that run, but just throw out that race. But like I said many times already, since coming to the dirt, she's improved a lot, especially with the buyer numbers. She's gotten quicker. She's training well. 3-1. I'll give her a shot here. Don't throw out the Breeders' Cup champion Idiomatic, the 4 horse for Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. She ended off the campaign last year with that great Breeders' Cup distaff, winning by a 1/2 length that day. A little bit wide, but she flew home clear late. She gamed it out to the wire. Prior to the Spencer at Keeneland, she beat home a good group of horses, win by a 6 that day, flying home clear late. And the Personal Ensign, she won by 4 lengths, it was probably one of the best races for fillies mares last year, beating home Secret Oath and Nest that day. She won by 4 lengths. She was a little bit drifting that day, but she got the job done. Since her race at Turfway last winter, she really improved a lot. She ran 4 triple-digit buyers. One of her slowest races at the end of the campaign was that Breeders' Cup distaff, but other than that, she was pretty perfect. She's facing a good group of proper Grade 1 quality horses here today. It wouldn't surprise me if she shows up. The 5 horse pretty mischievous. I thought we got a tired horse at the end of the campaign. She was winning, but she just kind of yielded late. She finished second in the Cotillion on a very sloppy track of Parks, where she was a little bit wide. She had to steady a few times, which probably cost her, in the test. I don't want to get into it, but she won that day. But it just was a nightmare race. And then she won the Acorn quite nicely, gaming it out to the wire, and she gamed it out from a stupidly wide poster in last year's Kentucky Oaks. She doesn't win by a lot, but she's run these good races. She might need the race here today, but she's facing older horses for the first time. I'll give her a shot 5-2, but I think the other 2 are just slightly classier than her on this particular afternoon. But like I said, I would use her in the pick 4 that begins with this race, or the 2-day Derby pick 6 that begins with this race. So quite a lot of wagering options you have with this Oaks card today. But to recount my selections now for the 5th from Churchill, it is a Grade 1 Troienne. Going to take the 6 horse Zygira. Give kudos to the 4 horse Idiomatic and the 5 horse Pretty Mischievous. 6-4-5-7 super. 6-4-5 in the multi race. Let's get to the 6th event now from Churchill. The sixth race from Churchill, it's the Unbridled Sidney Stakes. It's a Grade 3 event going for a purse of $400,000, race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses entered to go 1,100 meters or 5.5 furlongs on the mat when turf course. Portable rails are down this weekend at Churchill, so keep that in mind. My top selection here in the Unbridled Sidney, I'm going to go take the number 6 horse. The number 6 horse, Miss Speedy, 6539 for me in the superfecta. 6539 super. Top selection 6 horse, Miss Speedy. The 6-year-old mare by Super Speedy. Mark Cassie trains. Ira Tees Jr. gets the mount. First time on turf in a little bit of time. First time off the bench also came at Gulfstream. 5 furlongs, 31st of March and optional 80. And she won by a half a length that day. And she sat back early after not the best beginnings. Was a little bit wide, but she closed up from nowhere to get the job done. I thought that was a very good run on a turf course that plays towards speed, especially in those turf sprints going 5 furlongs. She went against buys, which I thought was quite incredible. Coming here to a turf course that can play towards closers, very good, a lot better than the Gulfstream turf course. I think she's proven she could, run a good race and get the job done here today. She's drawn very well. 2 back in the Grade 3 Henry at Woodbine, a 6.5 on the Tapeta in July at Woodbine. Finished 4th by 4 lengths. Pardon me. Proper English is the words were there. We just had to find the right combination. She finished 4th by 4 lengths that day, and she was just a little bit wide that day. She just kind of yielded late. Something must have missed that day because you didn't see the horse since then. And then prior to that, in the Balladade at Woodbine, 6 furlongs, 24th of June, winning by 2 3/4 lengths from a tracking trip. She really took off clear in the lane. And then the Pink Lloyd at Woodbine over the 6. She finished 5th by 6 1/4 lengths, and she was just wide, and she's just never getting into it. Her turf races are a little bit few and far between, but when she steps on the green stuff, she really runs terrifically. An optional 50 on the E.P. Taylor turf course in October 2022 at Woodbine. She finished 3rd by 3 lengths, and she stalked. She had the lead. She kind of yielded late off the plus break, but she ran her hard out that day. After that, ran some terrific races on the Tapeta, but I think the green stuff is what she wants to run on. She's going to get it today. She could win. The 5 horse Elm Drive on her inside for Phil Diamano with Luis Saez, I think, could get a trip to win also. Had a very wide poster on the Giants Causeway, Keeneland going 5.5, but she finished 3rd by 2 3/4 lengths, where she just kind of yielded late from that wide poster, couldn't save enough ground, but she ran her hard out. Prior to that, down the hillside turf course, Santa Anita in the La Ciénegas, she finished 2nd by a head, and again, she was a little bit wide, but she ran her hard out, just missing late. And then the Matriarch was over a longer trip, also against some very tough horses. She was never comfortable that day. And then down the hill in the Senator Ken Matty, she finished 7 by 6 lengths, and again, she ran her hard out that day. Coming back east again to face these horses, training well Keeneland since the last race. I think at 5-1, she's very loaded here. We'll use her on the ticket. And also watch out for the 3 horse Stone Silent for Junior Alvarado and Brian Lynch. Winner of her last race, she won the Amanita at Gulfstream on New Year's Eve quite nicely. Came back to win the Gulfstream Park Ladies Turf Sprint and the Captiva Island at Gulfstream over the winter. Has done everything right. Has run races fast enough. I'll give her a shot here. Also, quite incredible work on over this turf course. 3/8 and 35 and 3 earlier this week, so watch out for her here today. But to recount my selection for the 6 now from Churchill, it's the Unbridled Sidney. Gonna take the 6 horse Miss Speedy. Give kudos to the 5 horse Elm Drive and the 3 horse Stone Silent. 6-5-3-9 super, 6-5-3 in the multi race to the Alysheba. The 7th race, it is the Alysheba Stakes. It's a Grade 2 event going for a $750,000 purse, race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses going 1,700 meters or mile 16th here in the Alysheba. I'm going to take the 3 horse First Mission as a top selection. 3-7-6-5 for me in the superfecta. 3-7-6-5 super, top selection 3 horse First Mission. This 4-year-old called by Street Sense. Brad Cox trains this one. Florent Giroux gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Essex Handicap at Oaklawn, a mile and 1/8 on the 23rd of March. The horse won by 5 lengths that day. Had a very wide poster up, but he got over well. He stalked all the way around the race course. When he had the turn of foot, he flew home over a longer trip for the first time in a little bit of time. I thought that was a very good run. Refreshing against some tougher competition, gets a very good poster, could be forwardly paced on this track. I'm expecting to run a good race. He snuck up the place in the race before, we have to be honest with you, in the Pegasus World Cup at Gulfstream. Mile and 1/8 there on the 27th of January. She finished 9th by 20 1/4 lengths that day. This horse was just wide and just never got over. National Treasure really won quite easily there. And then the Clark Handicap here at Churchill, mile and 1/8 on the 24th of November. He finished 2nd by a nose that day, and he stalked down the race course. Trademark caught him at the wire, but this horse, he ran his heart out. He showed new dimension, gaming it out to the wire there. And off the 6-month branch at Keeneland, a mile 16th and optional 80. winning by a neck, closing up from mid-pack. I thought that was a very good, strong run. He was supposed to run last year's Derby. He actually won the Lexington quite nicely by a half a length, but after that, he got injured, so you didn't see the horse for 6 months afterwards. But his Lexington and his race before at the Fairgrounds wasn't bad at all. He actually destroyed Arabian Lion in that Lexington, who was the next star winner, and Disarm, who finished third, is a decent horse. So he beat a good group of horses last year. He showed a lot of potential in that Clark, a lot of potential last time on the Essex, stuck up the place at Gulfstream, but it's a better track here today. He gets a better post draw. He could win. I think his second likeliest winner is a 7-horse Tampa Trice for Tom Pletcher and Ira Hughes Jr. Hasn't been seen since the Travers that came late August at Saratoga over the 1.25 miles, where he finished third by 3 1/4 lengths that day. He didn't break that day, which cost him. He sat back early, and he moved a little bit late, but it wasn't anything to call home about. Angelo really ran terrifically that day. Prior to the Haskell over the 1.8 miles at Monmouth, he finished fifth by 8 1/4 lengths again, just never really showing up. And then the Belmont, he had a decent third place finish, closing up well behind Forte and Arcangelo. He was a little bit wide, but he closed up well there. And then last year's Derby, he finished seventh by 9 1/4 lengths as I think he was second or third choice at 9-2. He was just wide and just never was really comfortable that day. He didn't gain a lot of ground from the back of the pack, but he just wasn't anything to call home about. But he won the Bluegrass, closing up from nowhere, and won the Tampa Derby quite nicely also. Before the Derby last year, he was pretty perfect. He ran a 99 bar in the Bluegrass, 88 in the Tampa Derby, and a very good 92 bar going the 1 mile at Gulfstream last February. Coming here to his 4-year-old campaign, first time older horses, I'll give him a shot here on the ticket. He definitely has ability to win. But to recount my selection for the 7th now from Churchill, it is the Alysheba. Going to take the 3-horse first mission. Give kudos to the 7-horse Tampa Trice, 3-7-6-5 Super, 3-7 in the multi-race. Let's get to the Modesty now from Churchill. The 8th event, it is the Modesty Stakes. It's a grade 3 event going for a purse of $400,000, race for fillies, mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 12 horses going to the Matwin Turf Course, the distance of around 1,800 meters, or a mile and 1/8 here in the Modesty, formerly run at Arlington in Chicago as kind of the local prep race for the Beverly D on Millions preview day in early July. The last 3 runnings have been run here at Arlington at Churchill, which is not bad at all. I think it's in a good position on the calendar, kind of a good prep race for the New York Stakes coming up in about a month's time or 6 weeks time here in New York at Aqueduct, or this year at Saratoga. So I can't wait for that. But my top selection in the Modesty, I'm going to go with the number 6 horse. The number 6 horse, who is surprisingly 6'10", 2'4" for me in the superfecta. 6'10", 2'4" super. Top selection of 6 horse, surprisingly. 5-year-old mare by Mastery here. Tom Pletcher trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. They tried the horse long last time out, which I think she wants to do in the future, but cutting back trips should be well for her today also. The grade 3 Orchid over the 1.5 miles at Gulfstream on the 30th of March. She finished second by half a length behind McCulloch, who's actually running today in the Sheepshead Bay at Aqueduct. She stalked all the way around the race course. She had a bit of a trouble trip late, but she ran her heart out behind a decent filly mare that day. Starting off back to a 1.8 miles here today. She gets a good push, or she'll get a good pace to close up into. I think she'd get the job done. Prior to that, first start in the Pletcher Barn in the Pegasus World Cup Filly Mare Turf at Gulfstream, August 16th, 27th of January. She finished second by a neck that day. She had a very troubled trip that day early on. She bumped around a few times. She was a little bit wide late, and then, but she really closed up that day behind Dalda and Ruby Nell, who finished third that day. She gained a lot of ground. Great ride by Ocean Murphy there, and then the Boston spot Saratoga over the mile 16th in August. She finished 7th by 1.5 lengths. She was just wide and never getting the turn of foot. Her starts in the McGahey barn before 2024 weren't bad at all. She won the Endeavor last year, came back to run a decent third in the Hillsborough, decent third in the Bugay, very good place in Eatontown, and a very good place in the Matchmaker. But I think she wants to get a longer trip. She's going to get it today. She'll see a good pace to strong close up into, and she's run races fast enough to go win here. I'll give her a shot on the ticket. I think the 10 horse here, Sparkle Blue for Grand Motion, and Jorge Ruiz can win also. Most recent, the Hillsborough, she had everything her own way on the 1 1/8 turf course at Tampa. When you go 52 3/4 and 117 and 2 3/4, 52 to half, 117 and 2 3/4, you're going to win off those fractions, and this horse did just that, winning by a half a length. She basically won in a trot, a very easy run. Coming off the pace prior to that in the Endeavor at Tampa off the bench, she finished third by 1 3/4 lengths that day, and she was a little bit wide, but she was gaining that day. And then the Athenia at Aqueduct, 1 1/8 in late October, she finished fourth by 2 lengths there. She was a little bit wide, just a a little bit lackadaisical, but she had a decent place in the Kentucky Downs Ladies Turf at Kentucky Downs in September. It started twice here at Churchill in the past, most recently in the Modesty last year, where she finished 6 by 6 1/4 lengths, where she just never really getting into it off the bench. And then her Katana race after that here on this turf course, she finished 3rd by 3 3/4 lengths, closing up from nowhere from a horrible post draw. She doesn't like running off the bench. She needs a couple races under her belt. I like that she got the win in Hillsborough, even though she did walk on the front end. Coming here today, she could switch the tactics, closing up from a little bit behind. I think she could get the job done at 6-1. Let's choose her there. And also the 2-horse Aspen Grove for Tyler Gaffleone and Jack Sisterson was your winner of your Belmont Oaks last year quite easily by 3/4 length coming up at Belmont. Came back to run that very soft turf course in the Belmont Derby where she faced the boys there. Saratoga Derby where she faced the boys, where she finished 5th by 6 lengths, never getting a good trip. And then her EP Taylor race, she just was wide, just a little bit lackadaisical, but came back to run a very good place in the Hillsborough on that soft fractions on that turf course. Refreshing at Keeneland last week at a very good workout, 49-1 for the half mile. I'll give her a shot at 6-1 on the ticket. Like I said, her race in the Hillsborough wasn't bad at all, closing up into that slow pace. But to recount my selection now for the 8th from Churchill, it's a grade 3 Modesty, one of the best races I think on the program today. I'm going to go with the 6-horse, surprisingly. Give kudos to the 10-horse Sparkle Blue and the 2-horse Aspen Grove, 6-10-2-4 Super, 6-10-2 in the multi-race. Let's get to the 8 bells now. The 9th event, it is the 8 Bell Stakes. It's a grade 2 event going for a $600,000 purse. Race for 3-year-old fillies here. We have a field of 12 horses going 1,400 meters or 7 furlongs in the 8 bells. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 7 horse here, Denim and Pearls. 7-1-12-9 for me in the superfecta. 7-1-12-9 super. Top selection, 7 horse, Denim and Pearls. This 3-year-old filly band to the mischief. Brad Cox trains this one. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 7th of April at Keeneland, about 7 furlongs in the Grade 2 Beaumont Stakes, and the horse won by 9 1/4 lengths that day, and she stalked. She had everything her own way in the front end, and when she flew home clear late, with that 98 bar, that was a very, very impressive run. Stepping up a little bit classier today, but she's proven that she wants to go one-turn kind of race, 7 furlongs or a mile probably in the future. Coming here to 7 here today, drawn very well, very good tracking kind of horse. I think she could grind it out to the wire. 2 back in the Martha Washington at Oaklawn on the slop, mile 16, 3rd of February. She finished 2nd by 2 1/4 lengths. She stalked, she had the lead, but then she kind of hit the wall. Band of Gold just got to her. I don't think she won the route that day, and then she definitely didn't want to route that race before in the year's end at Oakland over the mile. She finished 2nd by 3/4 length. She had a wide trip. She stalked. She got the lead for a split second and then completely crumbled. Wasn't her day to win. She won over the 1-turn mile at Churchill here on the 25th of November, where she won by 3 3/4 lengths that day. A little bit wide, but she really closed up from nowhere to get the job done. That's what she wants to do, because they were flying up on the front end to set up for her late to get the job done. Training well locally. At 3-1, she could win. I think the 1 horse here, Impel for Juddmonte, Brad Cox, and Florent Giroux could win also. Most recently in the Ashland at Keeneland over the mile 16th, another horse. She just didn't want to get the trip. She finished 3rd by 3 3/4 lengths. She had a very wide post draw, and she just couldn't get there. Prior to that at Oakland, going mile 16th opposite 125, she had a very slow pace to close with, and she got the job done, won by 8.5 lengths. A very easy run. And then on debut on New Year's Day at Fairgrounds going 6, she won by 3 3/4 lengths, and again, really good easy run. Refreshing against these horses. I think cutting back is what she wants to do. And even the 12 horse R. Harper's Rose for Safi Joseph and Tyler Gaffleone, it might have to get a little quicker on the buyer sides, but the forward gal race wasn't bad at all. And the race after that in the Any Limit wasn't bad at all. Coming to 7 here today, major step up in class. I'll give her a shot on the ticket. But to recap my selection now for the 9th from Churchill, it is the 8 Bell Stakes. Going to take the number 7 horse here, Denim and Pearls. Give kudos to the 1 horse Impel and the 12 horse R. Harper's Rose. 7-1-12-9 Super. 7-1-12 in the multi-race. Let's get to the Edgewood now from the 10th race, it is the Edgewood Stakes. It's a grade 2 event going for a $600,000 purse. Race for 3-year-old fillies here. We have a field of 14 horses entered to go the 1,700-meter journey or mile 16th on the Matwin turf course. My top selection here in the Edgewood, I'm going to take the 6-horse Pounce. We'll go 6-10-9-8 in the superfecta. 6-10-9-8 super. Top selection 6-horse Pounce. This 3-year-old filly by Looking at Lucky. Mark Cassie trains. Javier Castellano gets to mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Appalachian at Keeneland, a mile on the 6th of April. And this horse basically lost all chance at the beginning because she broke out from an outside post draw. She never really got over. She was wide, and she just stunk up the place that day. With a better poster here today, hopefully breaking better, I'm going to give her another shot because she has ability to win here. She's running races fast enough to win here. Her race 2 back in the Here Comes the Bride was definitely fast enough to win over the mile on the 2nd of March, winning by a neck from a wide poster. She stalked, she got a little bit wide late, but she flew home clear. Small margin of victory, but with a 90 buyer, that was a very good run. And then option 75 at Gulfstream over the 7.5 in February. She won by 2 1/4 lengths, and from a wide post draw, she she got over well, she quickened up nicely, and she saved some ground to get the job done. Her only start with Lasix was probably one of her best starts. Since coming to the green stuff, she's improved a lot. Last time out, like I said, she missed a break, but she gets a better poster here today. Hopefully she'll be forward. She could win here. I think the 10-horse dynamic pricing can win also for Chad Brown and Ira Ortiz Jr. Most recently, they ran the horse in the Florida Oaks at Tampa, mile 16, 9th of March. Finished 7 by 3 3/4 lengths that day, and she had a very wide trip. She sat back early. She doesn't have a lot of forwardly pace, and she just moved a little bit late, but it wasn't anything to call home about. Hopefully, with a stronger pace in front today, she could get a better trip to win. Prior to that, she ran the Swedish Chant at Gulfstream, mile 16, 3rd of February, and she finished 3rd by half a length. She was stupidly wide that day, but she was gaining that day. Second off the bench, first-time winners, first-time stakes quality horses. I didn't think it was a half-bad race. And then an Aqueduct on British Cup week and a mile 16th in her turf course in Maine Special Weight, winning by a nose. A little bit wide that day, but she got there in nick of time. A very good, strong run. She's training well locally. I'm going to give her a shot here on this ticket. I think also the 9-horse Hard Justified for Chad Brown and Flavien Prat, your British Cup champion last year, where she won by half a length. Stupidly wide poster, but she got over well to save some ground, and she got the job going away. And then she won that Miss Grillo at Aqueduct quite easily, also by a half length, closing up from mid-pack that day. Another horse training quite well off the bench. Chad Brown 26% with these long break horses. She could win, so watch out for her here. But to recount my selections for the 10th from Churchill now, it is the Grade 2 Edgewood. We're going to take the 6-horse Pounce as a top selection. Give kudos to the 10-horse dynamic pricing and the 9-horse Hard to Justify. 6-10-9-8 Super, 6-10-9 in the multi-race. Let's get to the Friday feature. The 11th race from Churchill, it is the Longines Kentucky Oaks. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1.5 million, race for 3-year-old fillies here. 16 are entered, but only 14 could go. The distance of ground of 1,800 meters or a mile and 1/8 in this year's Kentucky Oaks. My top selection here in the Oaks, I love the number 5 horse, Torpedo Anna. I'm going to go 5, 13, 8, 14 in the superfecta. 5, 13, 8, 14 in the superfecta. That's my top 4 basically, but my top selection is the number 5 horse, Torpedo Anna. This 3-year-old filly by Fast Anna here. Kenneth McPeak trains this one. Brian Hernandez Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Fantasy at Oaklawn, a mile 16th on the 30th of March, and the horse won by 4 lengths that day. This horse has always had a horrible post draw. It's actually finally today he gets a good post draw, but he's drawn a 10 of 10 that day. Was very wide that day, but he got a good stalking trip. When this horse got to the front end and quick enough, she went away with it. Very good run. Probably, it was a tough race, so it might have taken a little bit out of her, but I thought that was a good stamina builder. Refreshing here finally with a good poster. Has run a race fast enough, I think, to beat these horses. I think this horse is sitting on a very good run. 2 back, the horse ran on the Golden Rod here at Churchill, mile 16, 25th of November. She finished second by 5.5 lengths that day, and she was wide that day. She didn't break so well, and she was just a little lackadaisical. Again, a very wide post draw. And then optional 100 on the 10th of November at Churchill, 1 mile. Here, she won by 9 lengths, and from a tracking trip, again, stupidly wide, but she got the job done going away. She's refreshing here. She's training well. She could definitely win. I think the I think, finally with that, like I said many times, with that good post draw, Malin Trip, which he's been crying out for, she could win. I'm going to use her on the ticket. I think also your second likeliest winner here is the number 13 horse, just FYI, for George Krikorian, Belmont, and Junior Alvarado. Most recently in the Ashland off the bench over the mile 16th at Keelan. She finished second by 3 lengths. Leslie Rose, who's breaking on the outside for her, really ran terrifically, closing up from nowhere to get the job done. This horse, she was a little bit wide. She wanted something more, maybe just a little bit flat late, but she ran her heart out that day. Prior to that, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies at Santa Anita, she won by a neck that day and was drawn stupidly wide, but she really took off clear late. That was a very good, strong run. And then her Frazette on a very sloppy going. She won by, by 4 lengths that day, and again, stupidly wide, but she flew home clear. Another horse definitely run races fast enough. Probably needed the race last time out. Gonna have to overcome wide post draw, but she has a chance to win here. Even the 8 horse Tarifa for Godolphin, Brad Cox, and Flavian Pratt. The Fairgrounds Oaks victor was not bad at all, winning by 3/4 length and stalking that day. She really took off clear. Prior to the Rachel Alexandra, she won by 2 3/4 lengths. A very good, easy run. One thing that does scare me about her only subpar race came on this track in November over the 1-turn mile, where she finished 4th by 6 1/4 lengths that day. And she was just drawn on the inside, and I don't think she was comfortable that day. I think she's a horse that, benefits with this good post draw. She could win also at 7-2. And, the 14 horse Leslie's Road, she's had everything her own way with good post draw. She's going to have to overcome a parking lot post draw. But she's done almost everything right. Her only subpar race was the Devona Dale, where she just was very weird inside, outside. And, she got beat by horses quite easily that day. But she came back to win the Ashland quite easily. They think highly of her. They bought her for just over $1 million at the Keeneland September 2022 sale. And she's done almost everything right so far. But that Devona Dale, that she should have won that day. But she has a chance of winning. I'll use her on the ticket. Looking at some other horses in this Kentucky Oaks. Let's start from the inside. Tappet Janelle. I'm not going to use this horse here. I think she's going to have to jump up quite a few buyer points to win this race. Not a use for me. Jin maybe for the super high five for somewhere there. She's a bit of a deep closer here. Busanda wasn't bad at all. Her Busher wasn't bad at all. And she just kind of hit the wall in the Gazelle. Like I said, a 5th place finish, maybe I would use her there. Where's my rings going to get a little overbet? I think 15-1. She's probably half that at post time, but she ran the Gazelle, not the world's toughest race on the speed favoring inside track, which she had. She won quite easily there, but I think she's going to be facing her biggest test here. Not a use for me. Regulatory risk in that Gazelle. She never really showed up there. She has to jump quite a few buyer points, maybe 5th or 4th in the Super. Not a use for me in the other wagers there. We already talked about Torpedo Anna, the 6-horse Lemon Muffin. She's a bit of a deep closer, deep closer. Just not a use for me. She has to really get quicker for this victor. And then the 7-horse Fiona's Magic, another horse, just has to jump up a little bit faster buyer points. Not a use for me. The 9-horse Everland, again, coming from Tapeta to dirt for the first time. It ran okay on the Tapeta, but those were against some lesser quality horses, way up the class ladder. Dirt workouts haven't been up to par. Not using for me. The 10-horse In Champagne, it wouldn't surprise me at 30-1 she gets a piece of it. Her race last time on the Gulfstream Park Oaks, she kind of hit the wall that day from a little bit of a wide trip off of a quick pace up front, where they were flying to that half mile, by the way. Her debut at Ellis wasn't bad at all. She might in the future want a 1-turn mile, but I'll give her a shot at 30-1 here on the ticket. 11-horse Ways and Means. If I had to give you a horse 5th if I had to give you a super high 5 after Leslie's Road, it would probably be Ways and Means. She's done everything right so far. She probably need that race at Gulfstream last time out. Has to overcome a wide post draw, but she has ability here. Again, I would use her in the pick 4. 12-horse Power Squeeze. She won her last 2 quite easily, but she's stepping up a major class here today. The poster is not good to her. I'm just not going to use her here. We already talked about 13 and 14. Let's talk about the also eligibles just in case to get in. The 15-horse Our Pretty Woman. Her race at the Fairgrounds wasn't bad at all. She's definitely been the improve. If she doesn't run today, she's probably going to be a horse that you want to keep an eye on as the season goes on, because she is a decent horse. If she draws in, use her for 3rd or 4th in the Supers. And the 16-horse Candied here, just not a use for me. For the 1, 2, 3, 4th, 5th, she could probably get a piece of it. She's a bit of a deep closer. Her Alcibiades victory wasn't bad at all. She has ability, but she probably won't draw into this race. But watch out for her as the season goes on. But to recap my selections now for the 11th from Churchill, it's the grade 1, $1.5 million Kentucky Oaks. As a top selection, I'm going to take the 5-horse Torpedo Anna. We're going to go 5, 13, 8, 14 in the superfecta. That was 5, 13, 8, 14 super. We'll use all 4 of them in the pick 4, and we're also going to add Ways and Means, the 11-horse to that pick 4, and also the 10-horse In Champagne to that pick 4 also. So, with that being said, good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and also join me tomorrow for my Kentucky Derby preview and my 2000 Guineas preview. Good luck, everybody.